Hi folks, so this is my mask. This is, you know, it's compulsory now here in South Africa that you wear a face mask, and so you're allowed to wear a cloth or something or other. You're allowed to wear a scarf. So this over here, right? This over here. There we go. Okay, so now this is defending me, and this is protecting me. Anyways, the feeling of having to be silent, right? The feeling or the experience of not being, the sensation of not being able to share your insights, your, I don't know, your understandings, your truth, okay? Your experience, right? Your take on things, your perspective, okay? Not being able to really share that and feeling insecure. Firstly, if you have, well, feeling insecure about doing it, okay, about sharing. I'm using a selfie stick here. First time. So you feel, like, I don't know, for myself, I came across this video with 1.7 million views on someone talking about two doctors from California talking on CV. And it was from a news agency, 23 ABC. I can maybe share the link in the description if I remember. It was about an hour and 10, 15 minutes long. And these doctors really did justice. They really, not from a conspiratorial point of view whatsoever, but from a fact, scientific data point of view, okay? Where they're coming across. Like, really just sound-minded, rational, common sense. Their only explanation was that, they said, like, every doctor or scientist, everybody has, you have different opinions, and this is our opinion, right? And we think that the World Health Organization needs to change its thinking because we have more data than when we started in the beginning of CV, right? So now that's what we're looking at for ourselves. We're looking at the data that's in front of us, the science behind it, and we're looking at the numbers and the figures, right? And this is what it says, that it's on par with the normal common flu. And this is what the mortality rate is. And we've done this work from the patients that we have tested ourselves, right? And the fact that we have got 30 years under our belt of experience, I don't know about 30 years, maybe 20 years, 20, of being an immunologist or whatever, is working with patients in the front line. And this is the data that we're coming with. And the WHO and has, what they did was they had all these projections, or this what do you call it? Not the map, but it's something or other where you do the predictions by, and what's it called? Like you forecast, and it's very loose, and it's not. Like like I said, 70% of people are going to be infected, and there's how many people. In South Africa, they said 70% to. In fact, they almost said like everyone's going to get it at certain times. But it was like 70% of people are going to be infected, 20% of them are going to be severe, critical, which is almost like death or whatever. So you can just imagine. So these were the models that they were working with. That's the word, models. And now their models are completely inaccurate. And they also said it's exponential and the whole thing. So these guys are coming, these doctors, with everything to lose, in a sense, from their reputation, from their credibility, from their degree, their job, everything. They're putting it all on the line to have this discussion, right? And they're doing it, again, with so much common sense. So my point being was that, like, I was thinking about, really, and they're coming from such a heartfelt, loving space. They're saying that this lockdown is causing so much home abuse, domestic violence. They're saying that the anxiety is off the charts. He says, you're crushing people's, jobs. You're putting people on the streets. He says, you're treating people like they prisoners, whatever it is. And he says, and it's not necessary. He says it's an overreaction. And really, people are suffering greatly. And he says people who have diabetes and should be coming in for checkups and for other kind of things. He says you're not help. They're not coming to the hospital because they're scared of being infected or something like that, right? Here in South Africa, people haven't even been going to the hospitals because they're scared that they'll get arrested because they're not allowed to do it. It's true. South Africa, which I was thinking also to get into, the extremeness, the measures that they are taking, which is absolutely what I have heard people being arrested for, right? Is just so sad. It is just so sad. Like they've, so now we're going into sort of which they said that they're going to lift the lockdown at the end of April. It wasn't a lifting of the lockdown, it was an easing of the lockdown, which is what they're doing worldwide anyways. But the restrictions are so intense, are so, oh, it's such tyranny. It is such tyranny. And I mean, and they're not, and they don't, you're so confused by what they're saying. Like, for example, they said that you can exercise, but you're not allowed to jog. Because firstly, in South Africa, you haven't been allowed to leave your house unless it's for essential goods, for shopping, or for going for medical or something or other. But you're not allowed to exercise, you're not allowed to jog, you're not allowed to walk your dog, you're not allowed to leave your house at all. Okay. And so now they said, well, you can do exercise, but you're not allowed to jog with other people. So like, even if you live with your wife or your husband, you're not allowed to jog with them, but you've been living with them for the last 5 weeks. So these sort of contradictories, these double standards. It's like, and everyone, you're just so confused, and you like don't know your ass from the hole in the ground. From a hole in the ground, like you just, it's also backwards. Anyways, coming back. So I mean, but it's appalling what's going on in all countries, but what's happening here, especially for myself, and what I've heard people being arrested for. I mean, a guy a son taking his father for cancer treatment. They didn't have the documentation to prove that they were going for the treatment. They were arrested. People for not having gloves. Now, gloves aren't even compulsory. Were arrested. Okay. And just the police brutality that's gone on. It's like, you can't believe it. You hear the stories. I mean, how many people have been killed by police and by the army already? It's absolutely horrendous, and it's absolutely frightening. And again, there was a case of a guy who was killed. He was the first person, to be murdered, basically, by the army. He was drinking in his garden in the back, and they came into his house, and something happened, an altercation, whatever it was, and they killed him. And so the family has opened up a case against him, took it to the courts, and the courts says, we're not interested. Like, the police are getting away with whatever they wish to get away with. They're not being held accountable whatsoever. And so they're drunk on power, and anyway, that's a whole nother thing to get into. But so for myself, okay, I suppose it does make a difference feeling all of this, right? And then coming across a video, I've come across many. I've been doing a lot of research. I've been doing, I mean, what else do I have to do really, besides for being in my garden and doing a bit of cooking and exercise? It's mostly on the internet, making my own videos, which is great. But so I came across this video, and I thought to myself, let me share it, because I feel a responsibility. Folks, we feel a responsibility to not wake people up, but comfort them. That's what my approach has been. Like, this video that I was watching on these two doctors from California, I find it to be comforting to understand that it's not as extreme as it is. One of the things that they say is just the deadly virus, deadly CV. I say, why don't you say deadly cigarettes, deadly alcohol, deadly cars, deadly, I don't know, fast foods, Why don't you use that word deadly with everything? Because there is a potential for it to be deadly. So why don't you do that as well, right? Many things. I don't know. Leaving your house in the morning, deadly. Going for a jog can be deadly. Sucking on a chicken bone, deadly. Deadly chicken bone. You see, and so if you put the word deadly in front of things, it's fearful. And so that's it. People are in this fear. People are anxious. People are overwhelmed. And so you want to just send a little bit of light and love to them, and insight and truth, right? It's comforting. And I've sent it to some people, right? And I've got such a backlash. From people. It's like, and I feel so embarrassed. This is the word I wanted to say. I feel so embarrassed. Like, what was I doing? They're only interested in the bloody narrative. That's the general narrative. They're not interested in thinking. They're not interested in expanding, in asking questions, in challenging. They're not interested. They're just by the book. They don't want to know. They just let the government and the experts tell me what's going on. What's the general consensus? Right? If it's 60%, I'll go with the 60%. That's the consensus. If there's obviously other opinions, it's 40%. I'll go for the majority rule and what most people are doing. That's what I will do. Thank you very much. That's who I'm going to. Don't introduce me to the 40%. Okay? And now in the world today, it's probably about 90%, which is the majority rule, which is the general consensus. Is what, the sort of the narrative that people buy. And so they're saying, look, I'm summarizing, I'm simplifying it to you, but people saying, the ones that I'm talking to, it's like, don't bother me with this shit. All I'm interested in is going back to my life. Your life was a nightmare before, and you're going back to the nightmare. Why? Because you haven't been thinking. You haven't been thinking for yourself. You haven't been, following your own true heart. You haven't been listening to the internal voice inside of you, or sensation inside of you, your soul, your being, right? And your life is actually a nightmare, and you messed up. And actually, here's the thing, that you're reaping what you're sowing now, but you don't even realize it. So this is the point I'll try and remember and get to, right? So you got to return to your life, and so you don't want to question anything. You don't want to challenge anything. You just want to carry on and going on with the way things are. And you just want things to return back to the normal that you used to, the comfort of the way that things used to be, which is great and completely understandable, right? But you want to do it because you're so dependent on the system. You are so dependent. You've become so trusting and reliant on it for its direction, for your meaning, for your purpose. It's all external. You've relied completely externally your whole life on that, right? And so that's all you focused on right now. And so something else that comes along that says, maybe question the narrative or your internal narrative or what you believe for just a moment, not the whole thing, but just a little bit. Like maybe it's not working in your favor. Maybe you should wake up a little bit. Maybe you should think for your, what I mean? Empower yourself just a little bit. And that's the place where I come from. And I'm embarrassing myself because I'm realizing that people, a lot of them, don't want to know. And I feel shameful. And I feel shameful because I'm also triggered, which I shouldn't feel. I'm triggered from I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. There's a lot to say. I feel triggered from my childhood, right? Because so many times I wanted to put my finger up and say to the teacher, I have a question, or the rabbi, I have a question, or to mom and dad, I don't understand something, I have this curiosity, I want to know more, or whatever it is. This doesn't make sense. Why is it the way that it is this way, or something or other? Or I have an opinion, I have an insight, maybe let's be more kind to one another, heartfulness. Let's be more loving to one another. Let's be more supportive to one another. Why does it seem like we live in a world? I mean, I've felt this for a very long time. That's just, the people are very ugly to each other. Why is the world the way that it is? Okay. Why do we die? Why do, these questions, and just curiosity, and the religion question, and the teachers, and it just got me into trouble. It just got me into trouble, and I was made to feel embarrassed. I didn't realize this so much. I mean, I did realize it, but now it's coming up for me. It's triggering. I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed for my imagination, for my curiosity, for my questioning, for my frustration with just what was and not accepting it for how it is and being able to conform, right? And so I felt tremendously frustrated. And when I did speak and I shared myself, I felt embarrassed, right? And I felt ashamed, a lot of shame. And I can tell you now, making my videos that I do on YouTube, there are times where I feel ashamed. There's a lot of shame that comes up from before. I'm sharing my opinion. I'm sharing my insight. I'm sharing my experience. right? And it's not about how to put on your makeup. It's not about what, what exercise works best. It's not about gardening, which is all great stuff, but you know what I mean? It's something, again, that's more from the heart. I mean, a lot of these things can be from the heart, but it's more my own direct experience. It's my own thinking for myself, right? Not just buying the narrative. And a lot of the time, I feel insecure about it. You folks know what I'm talking about. Those people in your life, the ones that you love, and although sometimes really hate, right? Loathe, despise, right? Which is okay. To just try and spread some light, not just about reality, but who you are as an individual, your sensitivity, your creativity, your imagination, your curiosity, right? Your kind-heartedness, whatever it might be, your spiritual nature, whatever it might be, right? Your insights, your epiphanies, your synchronicities, your poetry, okay? And they don't appreciate you. They don't accept you. I'm going to open this door, it's getting a bit hot. It's going to change the sound a lot, but it's echoing in my ear. Should have done that a while ago. So, not only just a lot of time have you been rejected, okay, and ignored, but you've also been humiliated. No question about it. And I was humiliated, you can be sure. And I was growing up, and the kind of person that I am, I was humiliated. And so there's a lot of those fears, but I overcome those fears, and I say, screw it, I'm still going to make my videos. But okay, so there you go. So you've said to people in your own life, you're wanting to share who you are, you want to share your insights, and you're wanting to share the metaphysics of life, the spiritual notion of life, right? The purpose of life, what you have found beneficial to you, and that you've wanted to share and wished well for them because you've seen it's helped you, it's inspired you, it's encouraged you, it's motivated you, it's lifted your spirits, you become a whole different new version of a better version of yourself, and you've wanted to assist, and you've wanted to out of love, right? And what has happened in return, right? Well, we know. And so, okay, but you wanted to share about yourself, and you wanted to share about reality, and you wanted to share about themselves and their purpose and their divinity. That's essentially what you're trying to share with them, folks. You're trying to share with them the ability that they can think for themselves, that they have a unique divine spark in them, okay? That they have a potential and a power inside of them and a fire that burns so bright that they have no idea about. And that's what you're trying to connect with them. What you're hoping, that you're sharing with them that they can connect with. That's what you're hoping for. That's what your intention is a lot of the time for. I know that's my intention, okay? And it comes from a good place. And I've got to trust that it is coming from a good place. And I feel that it is coming from a good place. So even though I shared this video with people, right, which is mainstream, folks, it's mainstream as you freaking get, but it's still not mainstream enough. It's still not majority of the rule, right? And so I don't need to feel embarrassed, right? I don't need to feel shameful, but I had to remind myself, and this is what I'm saying to you folks out there, you don't have to feel shameful. You don't have to feel embarrassed. I mean, you do if you're doing it like where you're not learning your lesson, where you're humiliating yourself because you're throwing pearls in front of swine. Okay, so therefore you should feel upset with yourself because, okay, you do it the first time and you realize, okay, this person's not interested. Okay, you realize you can't connect with them, you can't show them anything, you can't wake them up in a certain way, you can't make them think about anything, you can't, and they've slapped you back. There's been a very horrible response from them. Okay, very aggressive, whatever it is. They've humiliated you, they've disrespected you even further. So you let go, you don't try. But if you try again, then you're a fool. Okay? But a fool in his folly, as Alan Watts would say, he quoted somebody else, would become wise. I think it was William Blake. I'm not sure. I don't know what that really means. Anyways, so the thing is that when we know it comes from the heart, we should trust that. We should trust that. Okay? And we should accept that and be proud of ourselves rather than feel shameful of ourselves. Okay? And I'll end off on this here as well. This is the heavy point. This is the heavy dose. Is that in a way? I know this sounds very horrible. But people have condemned themselves to what they're dealing with now. They are reaping what they have sown. Right? Now I know this sounds, what do you mean? Like, did they choose to have their rights taken away from them? Okay, not everybody, but I can tell you, a lot of people that I know, yes, indeed, baby, they didn't. This is what I'm doing my talk on, this other videos that I'm working on. I uploaded the first one so far, the lucid dream option. I still have to do that one, but people, wanted to be locked down. You understand? They wanted to be ruled with a heavy iron fist. They wanted to. They have been wanting to for their whole lives. They've wanted authority to protect them, to take care of them, to look after them. Right? To tell them what to do, to tell them what's safe and what's not safe. Right? They've wanted to be good little boys and girls. They've wanted to. And now they get the great opportunity to do it. To be good little girls and boys and listen to what the principal says. Say, yes, I'm able to do it. Look how good I am. I don't leave my house, and when I do, I got my gloves on, I got my mask on, and I've got like a visor on as well, just in case. And when I go out, I'm very quick to get what I need to get, and it's absolute essential what I need to get, and that's what I do. And I don't shake anybody's hand. I don't even look at it anymore. And then I return to my house, and I sit and I wait, and I tell, and I trust what they're saying because it's very scary out there, So we've done it to ourselves. We willfully ignorant. Well, that's something else, but there's a part of that's it. There's a part of us that in ourselves, in our own psyche, we feel so out of control. Okay, I don't want to take away from the other videos that I'm working on at the moment, right? But that we feel that this is what's needed and this is what's required. Take away our jobs, take away our rights, take away our livelihoods, force us, because whatever. And so what I'm saying is that in the world that we live in, we reap what we sow. And unfortunately, those folks of us who've been free thinking and doing their own way are having to endure what's going on. We're also having to, have these restrictions and put on us and whatever it is. And, it's not just that, folks. It's just the way that humanity's been treated, especially in South Africa. I mean, I don't know which minister it was, but she says basically that if you don't behave yourselves, literally, okay, I can try and find the article if I remember and include it in the link in the description. If you don't behave yourself, we will go back to stage 5, because there's different stages, okay? We'll go back to stage 5. Now, South Africa's stage 4 is what the rest of the world has been doing under their whole lockdown, most places, okay? But here in South Africa, we're only moving to a lighter ease of the extension. But they've been threatening that if you don't behave yourself, this is what they're saying, if you do not behave yourself, children, then, Big Mama here and Big Papa here are going to have to show you the way. He's going to have to discipline you here. We're going, and that's it. That's what the police. We're going to have to discipline you. You're very, very naughty, and that's the attitude that they've taken in this country, and how they've looked at their people. I mean, the people are starving. The government has supposed to be delivering food parcels, but a lot of those food parcels, I'm not talking out of junior. This is all on the news. The food parcels have been stolen by the community councillors, or the councillors of each different, community, or whatever it is, or area, or suburb, or something like that. They've been stealing it, and they've been giving it to their friends, or selling it, or hoarding it, because when they want votes, when it's time for voting, then they'll start giving out the food to the people and see them as free food. Right? It's hysterical. I mean, it's ridiculous. Starving people. Most of the food parcels that people are receiving are from NGOs, non-profit. But the government, who cares so much for its people, are letting so many people just starve. Right? So and it's just so much that's going on. It is so frightening, and it is so double standard, and it's so contradictory. And it goes against and the way that the people have been treated. And the thing is that almost in the way, I'm sorry to say, but the South Africans deserve it. It sounds terrible what I'm saying, but we are so apathetic. As South Africans, most people that when I read on the internet and whatever it is, they just want their fast foods. They just want their liquor, right? They just want to be able to party again. They just want to. They're not interested. They're like children. We are like children. Not everybody. There's exceptions to the rule, but and I'm specifically talking about my own experience in this country. Okay, my own experience in this country. They're like children. There is the level of immaturity in this country is absolutely massive. I'm thinking compared to other. People don't care. People aren't standing up for they're not fighting. There's no resistance. There's nothing. They don't care. They're so narrow-focused, narrow-minded, so one-dimensional for their lives. Again, the only thing that they really want is to be able to use their cell phones. They can take selfies, okay? As long as I can do that. Because, again, they can't do without. Their alcohol, okay? Cigarettes, partying, all right? And one a few fast foods or whatever it is, but that's it. Again, for South Africans, I think more, I don't know whether it's across the board or whatever it is in saying the continent, but there's no value for life here. There's no purpose to life in a way. Purpose of life a lot of the time is to get rich or die trying. Okay? I'm just speaking for myself as a South African, and that's what I feel. I don't know whether people have just been so victimized or so badly abused, or whether the history or whatever it is. That's a whole another discussion. But for myself, it's just like I realized that, people are, whatever it is, they're children. And they need to be governed. And that's the thing, is if we don't grow up, right? If we don't become adults, if we don't become our own authority, then just by default, just the way nature works, one will be appointed for you. If you do not grow up, right, then somebody will control you. Somebody will parent you. And somebody will tell you what to do. And so people deserve it in a certain way or some way or another. They deserve it. Because if you disempower yourself, or you give your power away, somebody else or something else is going to take your power. Just like the ego. If you don't believe in yourself, the ego will make you believe in itself. Okay? And that's how it goes with everything. You give your power away, somebody will pick it up and take it and will run with it. And and that's what you're saying is, take away my power. And you understand what we're saying? Take away my opportunity to grow. Take away my responsibilities. I give it to you. I don't want to think. I don't want to get in touch with the truth. Do it, just take that away from me. Take that responsibility away from me. Take it away. I don't want it. Govern me, please. Lock me down, please. I know, put me in a state of fear, please. Right? I'll do anything that you tell me to, as long as that I don't have to take responsibility for my own divine being, my own soul nature, my own, please. And that's what I'm saying here, folks. So when you come in from the outside from Plato's cave, and you say to them, you don't have to be in such fear, they'll be like, don't you take away my fear. I'm sorry, I just don't know if people can hear me. See, again, the silence, when we are silenced, when we're scared of people, we're sharing our views on the dream world that we live in, on the Truman Show. They don't like it. The other actors in the Truman Show, they don't like it. They say, toe the line, buddy. And you're going to see when other things start coming out, things with little needles on the end of them, and that you need to be injected with and whatever it is, and people say, you got to do it. You got to do it. I did it. You got to do it, And that's what people are going to do. They're going to put pressure on you, right? They're going to say, we're all doing it. We're all on board. We're all in this together. You have to do it too. Be a good little girl and boy and do it as well. Listen to what your masters tell you. Listen to what daddy tells you. Listen, man. And so that's what I'm saying. And that's why what's going on now. I know it sounds so brutal. And not in every situation, I'm saying, but in a lot of situations, right? We reap what we sow. It's just the rule. It's just the law, the universal law of things. And so we're having our power taken away from us, our authority, our ability to think and question for ourselves, our common sense, because we don't use it. We don't want it. I'm sorry to say, folks. Anyways, I know that's bleak. But it's just the nature of the game. It's what each soul has come here to wish to experience for now. Okay? And there's a lot of suffering involved. It's very tough, but this is the duality that is required for each and individual soul kind of thing to go and experience. I think so, something like that. To feel what it's like to be utterly removed from one's own divine nature. To have to come to have that experience, and that's what it's about, to a certain degree. So, but be careful. Again, I'll end off on this. But be careful. Like, don't throw pearls in front of swine. Don't belittle yourself. Don't allow yourself to be mocked, and don't mock yourself. And put, sacrifice just your well-being in hopes that others, might catch a wake up or something like that. Don't desperately try and enforce upon them that you must understand who I am. Know who you are in your own power, in your own strength. They don't need to know who you are, right? It's their loss. They don't need to know who you are. You need to know who you are. You need to know your own value. All right, folks, I think that pretty much covers it all. Pretty much more to be said, but I'll end off on that for now. Stay safe. Stay safe. Not stay well. Keep well. Okay, stay safe. It's like, but I love that fear. That fear gets me going, baby. When I watch that gruesomeness on the TV and I see the guy getting shot through the temple and comes out the other side, and I see the other man taking a sword and just jamming it into the chest of another man and whatever it is, and when I see the who is it, the villain, is it the villain or I get it confused, whatever, the bad guy, and he finally gets killed in the most graphic way, yes, like in Gladiator, the thing with the ball with the sparks in it and gets sinks into the guy's head, and you just, it's like, bring that on. Fear me, make me fearful, baby. Put me in fear. I want to be fearful. I want to watch these frightening thriller shows. I want to watch these sort of crime stories. I want to watch these depraved music videos of people just getting murdered. Literally. I mean, Rihanna, bitch better have my money. Like I said, I was doing a documentary on this. And another one by Cardi B or this Iggy Azalea, whatever it is. And they're just murdering people. And this is what we dig. This is what gets us high. This is what gets us, so it's what turns us on. Turns us on, baby. This is what gets our engines revving. This is what it's about. Gunshots, violence, perversion, abuse, betrayal, all of this stuff gets us high, it gets us, turns us on. And that's it. Fear, baby. We want the fear. We want it. We want to be immersed in the fear. Let the fear consume me. as long as I don't have to be in touch with the light. All right, folks, I'm going to carry it away. Chat soon. Be well. Stay safe. Oh.